It is 5:30 on June 7th, 2022, and I'm calling the special meeting for the County of San Diego Citizens Law Enforcement Review Board to order. As Mr. Parker announced, we do have a quorum, and I would ask Mr. Parker to go ahead and call roll.
Chair Youngflesh,
Present.
Vice Chair Delaney. Vice Chair Delaney,
You're on mute.
I see you.
My apologies. You have to unmute it, don't you?
All
I don't know how
right.
that works.
Pastor Spriggs, Ms. Domingos, Ms. Kink,
Here.
Ms. Kinayu,
Here.
Ms. Tintar,
Here.
Mr. Ware, and Mr. Wilson.
Here.
Okay, Chair Youngflesh, you do in fact have a quorum.
Thank you. Then the agenda item 2A is the continuance of teleconferencing meeting option pursuant to Government Code Section 54953 subdivision E. And with that, before we call for a motion, County Council, would you mind reading the special language that you would like us to adopt?
Sure. So the appropriate motion for this would be to find that the board has reconsidered the circumstances of the state of emergency and state and local officials continue to recommend measures to promote social distancing.
Thank you. And so moved by Vice Chair Delaney. Is there any discussion needed? No,
Need a second, don't we, Susan?
we do need a second. Seconded by Mr. Wilson. And then Mr. Parker, if there's no discussion, can you go ahead and call roll again for the vote?
Chair Youngflesh,
Yes.
Vice Chair Delaney,
Yes.
Ms. Kink,
No.
Ms. Kinayu,
Yes.
Ms. Tintar,
Yes.
Mr. Wilson.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-1.
Thank you. Then moving on to the second agendized item, which is the creation of the CLERB Officer Nomination Committee. Mr. Parker, would you mind introducing this item?
Sure. This actually should have been on last month's agenda. It was my
Vice
over.
Chair- I'm sorry.
Excuse me. Mr. Parker, I'm so sorry. I can't hear you. Is it just me or is it?
I think it's you. No offense.
Oh, okay. Turn up my hearing aid. All right. Sorry.
Oh, no worries. How about now? Is this any better?
I'll just kind of put my ear here. Yeah.
Okay. So this is an item, our board officers are nominated. The period that they serve as the officer, whether it's chair, vice chair, or secretary, is from July 1st to June 30th. It's the fiscal year. So technically, this item should have been on last month's agenda, but since we're having a special meeting, we put it on now. The point is to form a board member nomination committee to name a chair of that committee. It can be no more than 4 members per the guidelines, but definitely not a quorum. The purpose of it is for members of the CLERB to submit, at least what our policies and procedures state, is to submit in writing their interest, a board member's interest, to the board nomination chair in writing if they want to be considered for a board officer position. Now, Ms. Hoffman, we discussed earlier, perhaps they should just email me. I'm just looking at what the rules, the policies and procedures state. So I'll leave that up to you.
Yeah, I'd recommend that board members express their interest either here or by emailing Mr. Parker.
Perfect. So thank you, Ms. Hoffman. So at this point, that's the background, Ms. Youngflesh, and I'll turn over the formation of this committee to you.
And does it need to be formed at this meeting, or can they express interest to form it at a later date between now and say next week when we have this regular meeting?
Ms. Hoffman, my understanding is it needs to be formed at this meeting. So then it gives the committee 1 week to consider what's, to consider the folks that have presented their names to be considered for board officers. But I'll defer, of course, to Ms. Hoffman.
That's right. So I'm nodding my head. I realized maybe you can't.
Okay.
Yes, that's right.
Okay.
Well, then my other question too is there's a number of board members that aren't present today. And then if there's a lack of interest amongst those that are here, can I go ahead and appoint people? to be part of this committee?
I believe so. I'm double checking the rules real quick. And of course, officers can be nominated from the floor next week without a subcommittee at all. But let me double check on the appointment.
And it is up to 4, so it can be any number less, correct? And with that though, and I see Vice Chair Delaney, you do have your hand up. I apologize. What question or comment would you have?
No, I was just gonna say, I'd be happy to help if need be.
That would be great. Thank you. Oh, and then Ms. Pintar too?
I have a question.
Okay.
So we're forming the committee, and then if someone is interested in sharing or being a vice chair, they would send their interest to the committee or send their interest to Paul? Or do you have to be on the committee if you have an interest in a leadership position?
No, you don't have to be on the committee if you have an interest. You would just send your interest in writing to be an officer to either Paul or to the committee.
Okay,
The committee is just the nominating committee.
I see.
You don't, does that make sense?
Yes, it does. I just wanted clarification. And there's the
Mhm.
2 officer positions. There's not more than 2, correct?
There is more than, there's the secretary. Historically, we've had I believe we've had a treasurer in the past, although that hasn't been filled, haven't we?
What would that function
No,
be?
no, I don't believe about the treasurer, but I could be wrong. The ones that have been around since I've been here are the chair, vice chair, and secretary. The secretary is the one who calls the roll, actually signs the minutes and whatnot. Chair runs the meeting, vice chair. There's a chair pro tem and a vice chair pro, we can, but that's decided at the meetings if none of those people are there, but that's my understanding. Ms. Hoffman, go ahead.
Yeah, so under the rules, Rule 3.5, the election is for chair, vice chair, and secretary. And in that same section, it indicates that the chair designates the members of the subcommittee. So yes, Ms. Youngplush, you could designate them. It also specifies that you would need to be an ex officio voting member of the subcommittee.
And Ms. Kank?
I just have a question because I have an interest in one of the positions. As far as the secretary goes, they don't create the minutes, they just sign them, right?
That is correct. Our administrative secretary 3, Valerie, will do the minutes, but then the treasurer, it's the treasurer's signature that's on there along with her. Or
Secretary.
I'm sorry, secretary. You know what? I've been sick for like a week. I don't even know what I'm saying. So yes, the secretary.
Okay,
Secretary. Thank you.
okay. Can I express an interest now or not? Okay, I am interested in the position of secretary.
Thank you, Ms. Kank. Mr. Wilson?
Yeah, I think Paul stated that also, if once the committee forms a slate, there could be nominations from the board in session as well. I just want to clarify that.
Yeah, Ms. Hoffman stated that. That is correct.
Okay, and I'm available to help Ms. Delaney.
Thank you. And Ms. Hoffman, I noted that you said it has to be in writing. Is Ms. Kank's statement here sufficient? I know it's not in writing, but.
I don't think I said it needs to be in writing.
No,
No.
actually, I said that because that's what our policies and procedures state as part of the board member handbook, but that's not anywhere in the rules and regulations. So I'll defer to Ms. Hoffman, yes.
So-
And please let it be, no, you're fine, Ms. Kink.
Okay,
And please let it be known that Pastor Spriggs is in attendance.
okay. So with that, then the committee would be Vice Chair Delaney and Mr. Wilson. If there's anyone else that would like to join, please express an interest. And Pastor Spriggs, I know you just joined, but we're discussing the forming the nominating committee for the CLERB officers. If you have any interest to join the nominating committee.
Sure, I'd like to be in.
Okay, then that would be along with Vice Chair Delaney and Mr. Wilson. And then with that, I would leave it to the 3 of you And I believe then they would come up with recommendations before next week. Is that correct? Yes, Ms. Hoffman's nodding, so
Yeah.
yes, okay. Vice Chair Delaney?
Would you, the three of us like to just stay on afterwards and have a discussion about this? Would that, or that, well, that won't give people enough time though, would it, to send their requests?
I would think it wouldn't give enough time.
Okay,
So that's my gut anyway.
Okay.
And Ms. Hoffman,
Susan?
Ms. Hoffman, in reference to this, would it be appropriate for me, because there are two members who are not here at this point, to send an email to the two members that are not here to explain to them that this action had occurred, and if they'd like to express interest, to, let me or the chair of this committee know? Is that appropriate?
Yes.
Thank you.
And for clarification, I would assume that the chair would be Vice Chair Delaney.
It could be either one.
Okay. Vice Chair Delaney, are you okay being the chair?
sure.
Okay, thank you.
I was going to nominate her to be the chair, so.
Well, then we
Thanks,
don't have
Deanne.
any other agendized items for tonight to discuss, and I don't believe we have any closed session scheduled, so with that, the meeting would be adjourned.
We just.
Can I just ask one
quick
question
call for
before you?
If there's any public comment, I don't
Oh.
see anybody, but
I apologize. Is there any public comment, Mr. Parker?
No, there's not.
I would just like to ask one question. When should we, Paul, are you going to just go ahead and send an email out regarding nominations or interests? Or how does that work?
Ms. Hoffman, if it's okay, I would like to do that. I think I should send it out. That way you're not violating anything.
Okay.
And I'll send it out. And again, let them know, anybody that has any interest, to let me know, or you as the chair of this committee know, so that you can do what you
And
have to do.
could you ask them to respond by, let's say, Thursday, and then maybe we could just meet on Friday? Because our meeting is coming up pretty quick.
Okay, I will do that. And Ms. Hoffman, do we need to take a vote to solidify the creation of this committee that we just did, or are we good?
no, Chair Youngflesh can appoint the committee.
Okay, perfect. All right, back to you, Chair Youngflesh.
Thank you. And council, do I technically need a motion to adjourn?
No.
Okay, then I would just adjourn this meeting, and I wish everyone a good night. Thank you for attending.
Thank you all.
Thank you.